Meet Gavin and Tanner. They're stupid, but they had a big plan. You see, their plan was to travel to the Gonav Island in Haiti. All the men on the island then take the women and children as slaves, where they would then force the women and children to watch Netflix with them. If you don't know what that means, look in the comments. Now, if all that sounds insane to you, it gets worse, because it's the actual plan that these two came up with that's the scary part. You see, sometime last year, they meet up. They say, look, we still finna take over that island. Tanner said, you know I'm always ready. How we gonna do it? We're gonna go in military style. Gavin said, that's smart. You ever been in the military? Tanner said, I guess I haven't. So Tanner joins the Air Force and Gavin joins a firefighter academy so they can gain some skills to take over the island. Tanner in the Air Force, busting his ass. He said, man, this is tough. Let me see how Gavin doing. Ring, ring, ring. Gavin said, yep. Tanner said, okay, how's the firefighter training going? Gavin said, firefighter training? Oh, I flunked out. Remember, they stupid. He said, they was trying to make me learn and all that. Tanner said, ooh, I almost said something. Gavin said, cool your jets, Tanner, because I got a plan. Look, I'm finna go to Thailand and learn how to sail boats, because to take over the island, we gotta get to the island, and we don't know how to sail. So Gavin flies over to Thailand. He says, hey, y'all, I'm trying to learn how to sail one of these. One of the folks out in Thailand said, yeah, we can teach you. Look, this is how much it's gonna cost. Gavin said, cost? Oh, I'm broke. They said, oh, why don't you just Google how much it costs for us to teach you? We got websites. Gavin said, I should have done that. They said, yeah. But you can swim around the water, though. That's free. Now, it's at this point, the two men decided to take a step back because they realized they were in over their heads. Psych, stupid. You not listening. They dumb. They said, we'll figure out the boat stuff and the training stuff later. Let's move on to phase 2, recruiting soldiers. And by recruiting soldiers, I mean going to Washington, D.C. and asking homeless people to join them. In fact, Tanner requests to be stationed in Maryland so he can be close to Washington, D.C. so he can consistently try to recruit homeless people. The homeless people in Washington, D.C. were like, nah, we're not gonna do that. Gavin and Tanner said, y'all wanna think on it? They said, nah. And it was at this point, Gavin and Tanner looked at each other and said, let's keep going. So they start writing battle plans. They start texting each other plans, saying, all right, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there. They start texting each other terrible things they're gonna do to the Haitian women. And it was at this point they get a knock on their door. Do. Gavin and Tanner said, who that? They said, it's the FBI. Gavin and Tanner said, y'all trying to join us? The FBI said, not really, but you're going to jail though. Gavin and Tanner said, all right, we coming out. You see, the FBI had been watching them for months. We don't know exactly how they got caught yet, but that information is probably gonna come out in the future. And well, these pictures you've been looking at this whole time are their mugshots. Gavin and Tanner said, how many years we facing? The FBI said, you're not facing like any years exactly, you're just facing your whole lives. Gavin and Tanner said, hey, but we didn't actually take over the island, we didn't do nothing. The FBI said, and you were never going to take over the island. You know how many people live on Gonav Island? Gavin and Tanner said, 40? FBI said 87,000. Gavin and Tanner said, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. So now Gavin and Tanner both face life in prison for conspiracy to people in another country. Side note, they also face another 15 to 30 years for producing a video in which, let's just say, they're doing Epstein activities. Now, technically, these are all charges, so all of this is alleged, but they were texting about their plans back and forth for like a whole year. And they were being watched really closely by the FBI, so it's probably gonna be life for Dumb and Dumber.